swear I'll kill you if you hurt Alice! Do you hear me? Come back here!
Actually, I'll probably kill you either way.
He had Alice, and he wanted the manuscript because he thought it held some magical power. But I had no manuscript to give him. I had to get back to Barry and figure out my next move.
So, how's everybody's Saturday? What is that? Oh, it's a bear trap!
Warn me about these traps. I wouldn't want to get caught in one of them. Those teeth look nasty.
Well, being that I originally come from a Windows background, 250 gigs does not sound like nearly enough space to set up even a few small VMs. It's taken me a very long time to get used to a server running on like 15 gigs or 10. Windows doesn't suck, it's just different. This way, I guess, according to the dot. Is that another bear trap? Yes, it is. What's with the weird, like, growly noise? It's weird. You've got to learn to to separate your opinion on a product versus your opinion on a company, champ. Part of me feels like maybe I shouldn't be shooting all of these, but the other part of me is like, but what if there's an achievement? Its registry the registry in Windows is like 10 times better than the registry in OS X. And if you let it do its own thing, it's like you know, if you don't really do anything other with it other than, you know, like the one thing that you build the server to do, it's usually pretty damn stable. Just don't ever reboot it. Yeah. The reason why it feels so much less stable than a Mac, in my opinion, is because just kind of it's kind of for the same reason that people complain about Android phones not having good apps. It's like, no, it has good apps. It's just that it has so many more apps because there are so fewer barriers to entry for developers that there's a larger amount of junk apps. And you just have to figure out which ones are good. plist files are nowhere near as intelligent a system, in my opinion, as, well, intelligence is the wrong word. They're nowhere near as straightforward or easy to learn as the Windows registry hash, or Hive rather, registry Hive. Because, I mean, the main difference, the thing that makes it ridiculously more complicated to understand Apple registry versus Microsoft registry approach is that Apple requires that the app come with its own registry and it maintains it all like compartmentalized with all the rest of the binaries for the application, so that it becomes really easy to uninstall apps and to make sure that you've like completely purged the app from your computer by just doing a standard uninstall. Microsoft, on the other hand, in an effort to sort of streamline like inter-application compatibility, they want it so that the registry is all in one central location, so that you can look at the registry values for all applications side by side. Everything has obscure error codes because there's a lot of data that has to get stored in them. I mean, if you debug your memory dumps whenever your OS crashes, you will get very thorough, very easy to understand for technical people explanations of why the system crashed. You just have to install the debugger for Windows, and you can get that from Microsoft. And you don't even have to sign up for an account or any of that bullshit that Apple would make you do to get anything off of their App Store. Wait, did I just circle back around? God damn it. Also, VR, dealing with Windows registry isn't any different than, say, like interacting with the data inside a SQL server. So why is it such a foreign concept for you to try to pull data out of it? I also have to say that using Wequel to get system information and compatible application info is like so much better than having to script out an SSH connection and then use like a bajillion different command line applications to try to figure out info about a system. So much nicer to just use Wequel. Yeah, Windows has a backup command. It's you open up regedit, and then from wherever you want to do a backup, you just do export, and it exports a flat file version of the entire structure that can then be imported back in through regedit. It's all plain text too, so you could actually just go in and write, like modify it, and then, exactly as if you were just having it write a .sql file when you do your export. You're not supposed to be interacting with the Windows system from the CLI though. So that's why I've said that what it ultimately comes down to is that it's not bad, it's just different. You are used to doing everything from a command line, and so when you look at Windows, you try to figure out how to do it from a command line. Microsoft has been working on making Windows so that you never use its command line. They've been doing that since NT. Like almost 20 years now. Things can be automated. You automate them through PowerShell now. You used to automate them through VBScript. And the way that you do all of those is by using the APIs that are all preloaded into Windows. And you can either use the command interpreter for those, or you can use the GUI interpreter for those. You can actually export the registry stuff from the command line if you really wanted to, because you can call regedit, and you can call regedit with arguments, and then it will just spit out whatever you want it to do. The problem with System Restore Champ is that it's kind of a dumb process in that it looks at the last time it did a system restore, determines the delta, and then backs up every system file that has changed. And so you can't just tell it like, I really am only planning on messing with the registry, so only back up the registry. I got turned around again. Where the fuck am I supposed to go? But wrong button. Yeah, the short of it, VR, is you can very, very, very easily automate things in Windows through scripting, the exact same way that you would expect to do it for you know, a Linux machine by writing a, you know, what is effectively a modern shell script for Windows. You just have to to learn a Windows scripting language. Man, they fucking ambushed the shit out of me. Like, I couldn't back up any further because I have to drop down from a ledge. But shit. Yeah, I run all three. So I have a Windows 8 laptop, a Windows 7 desktop. I have an Ubuntu media server, a SUSE laptop, and then I have a Mac at the office. And at my old job, I also used to have a Mac laptop for working at home. Well, shit, I'm out of ammo. Now what do I do? Oh, hey. That was a bit tense. Well, you could always just boot camp VR. I honestly would probably have at least one Mac at home if it weren't for the fact that I personally don't like the way that Apple does their business, and I'm a firm believer in the idea that the only worthwhile method of showing your distaste for a business's practice, like the way that they run their company, is by just not giving them your money. So I don't buy Activision video games and I don't buy Apple products because I don't like the way they run those companies. Yeah, that's the problem that Nate says he has. That he never plays games that run on only in Windows because he is too lazy to switch between operating systems. But I mean, Boot Camp works pretty quickly and easily from the last couple of times I've used it. I got a buddy from my old company who has some way. I think that he's got actually a VM that he has that actually runs 3D well enough that he can play Windows games like on Steam in a VM.
I had heard the plane fall. It made no sense. It was clear that it had just fallen here. It was very old and obviously hadn't flown in decades. Looking at it sent a shiver through my spine.
Yeah, Boot Camp is the way that that Apple kind of like sort of officially supports running a different operating system on Mac hardware. You install this thing and then it essentially creates like a virtual partition that you tell your Mac the next time you start up, instead of loading the physical partitions bootloader, run the virtual partitions bootloader. Like mainly the only thing that I don't like about Apple is just how they're sort of forcing their morals on the community that purchases their products by saying like we as a company, or those of us that make decisions within the company believe that these things are, you know, like are sinful, and so we don't allow people who buy our products to partake in any of those things. And it's like, that's not your business. Like your job is to facilitate a person's, you know, access to technology. Your job is not to then, you know, say what they can and cannot read or watch or play video game wise. Video games are probably the thing that, surprise surprise, the thing that I have the biggest grief with their stance regarding, because like they flat out say in writing, if you want to make if you want to make something to discuss a serious topic, write a book or film a movie. Video games are not to... Their stance actually in writing is video games are not something that you should make statements in. You should not discuss religion or politics or feelings like depression. Apple does not believe that you should be permitted to talk about those things through video games. They say they flat out, I think almost the literal text is, if you want to talk, if you want to have a serious discussion, write a book or film a movie. They say that they do not curate the content, or they do not curate the book or movie sections of the Apple Store based on content for books and movies, but they will curate the video games based on content because they do not believe that video games should be allowed to talk about serious topics. And again, they're more than welcome to have that opinion in their personal lives, but when their beliefs then begin to impact my life, that's when I get really pissed. And that's why I won't give Apple my business. Yeah, that's exactly the point. It's video games are still very much in their infancy. They are treated pretty much exactly how movies were when movies were first coming out. And yet nobody really sees the parallels. But you see the same thing. And I'm not saying that the struggles that video games have to be respected as an artistic medium are in any way similar to, like, in gravity to this. I'm just saying that it's an interesting parallel. But like the discussions about same-sex rights and then like race rights, the conversations that are had around those are pretty much the exact same thing. Like the vernacular used. I hit block. Hunting rifle. Yeah, they already in Mountain Lion they have it where you have to go in and you have to click through a bunch of things in order to get it to permit you to install applications from a source other than something that has been certified by Apple or their App Store directly. But yeah, the default configuration on Mountain Lion is that if you try to install an application that doesn't have like a certificate that has that shows that it's been approved by Apple to be installed on their systems, it will block it from being run.